This is the magnificent Saiwite stone. And I'm going to walk all the way around so that you can have a look at the details. Dr. Arlen Andrews is here, and he is going to see what this is. If it's a hydrological testing model, a scale model of a city, or what. And this is moving more into the detail, the animals. Puma.
Glad to be here. Come, Sean. First pictures.
You can pull up behind. No, left one.
Seems to be a spot right here on top. Looks like a bowl.
Really? Perfect.
Yeah, that's where they poured everything.
Yep.
Ah, so Sean has just found a depression in the top of it where water or some other liquid would be put in order to see if it moves down through these channels.
Before we pour anything on it, weren't so worn. This thing has got to be very old. Especially look around the top. If it was damaged or if it were just worn. Some of the areas, like on the side here, almost like there were bowls that have been broken off.
Yeah.
There are containers around the edge that have been broken off.
Right.
Well, take some more measurements and do a couple of tests.
Yeah, and there is that top channel right at the very top of it. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
One more.
Say one more.
I think one here. I think I'll do one more in the middle.
Could very well be water channels.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm going from the very top, maneuvering down, emptying, and pouring out at the lowest point.
Ah, my poor hand. These right here represent a system, I think, called Fingers, Calanoles, or something like that, on the other side of the mountain, on the Altiplano, near the sea. They were used by the ancients for agricultural irrigation, but it turns out that it was only discovered in the 1970s how they were used. They're only 8 to 10 inches, 12 inches deep. When you put water in there, it creates a microclimate about 18 inches high, and you can grow tubers and other things in that. They started using it again in the 1980s. It was an ancient thing. It produced enough food to support the large population that used to live out there. And that's what these represent. The rest of what everything else represents, we'll have to find out.
Yeah.
Oh God, here comes a whole crew. Shit.
Whole crew of what?
People. Turistas.
All
over the world in ancient times to slow water down.
Oh, these step-like things.
Step-like things in the middle. I wish I had a ruler.
Yeah.
A step-like thing.
Right.
For water to slow water down.
Right.
Now, They didn't have three-dimensional CAD modeling systems in the old days, but they did have this. And perhaps maybe this represents finished things. And they would bring in the new engineers, priests, trainees who are going to build a new T-pond or something. They bring them in here and say, okay, this is what you do.
Show them how it works.
You've got a kilometer here, whatever the measurement was, of water to run through. You've got to make sure it does this, that, and the other. Just pouring water on it by itself will not model what really happens. You have to have a liquid 35 times denser than water to make it scale. We don't have anything like that. The closest we have is liquid mercury. When I spoke to a archaeologist back in 1986, I asked her if they'd ever found mercury on this stone. She said yes, they had. They didn't know what it was for. I never finished the conversation with her to find out who it was that discovered the mercury and when and why they were even looking for it. But over the mountains there are mercury mines, cinnabar mines, from which you make mercury. So the ancient Incas and others had mercury, and they could have used it here. And that's one of the things we hope to find out today.
Yeah, even today there's a major mercury mine at quite a big town called Huancavelica in the highlands.
It was soaked in alcohol and it was rubbed. This is supposed to be an indicator solution here. Actually altered this stone when it was being used. You can tell here they've laid another layer of a different material here to alter the characteristics of this channel. So, in my estimation, they were at least tweaking and maybe doing actual experimentation. And I think the whole thing is to experiment with water flow and demonstrate water flow and design water flow. So occasionally it wouldn't be unusual to find a place that they say, oops, we need to go back and tweak that, just like engineers do today, back to the drawing board, except here it's a large stone. They didn't have three-dimensional CAD systems back in the old days that we know of, at least. But they did have this three-dimensional CAD model here. It's like a computer-aided design. And that's why I maintain that I highly suspect that they used liquid mercury that would scale down and act as water does on the scale that you're using here.
Right.
But unfortunately, so many places have been broken apart. It's been chipped off. I doubt that the original people did that because it looks ugly.
Yeah.
And a lot of the zoomorphs, the animal shapes, have been broken.
Yeah, especially the heads of the pumas knocked off.
Yeah, you see over there, we see lobsters, we see pumas. What I was looking for today, particularly, was perhaps something like this that would have been a dome. And they carved it out and ran water through it to do some things like siphoning. I wouldn't be surprised to find, if we had the time to look at this, or look at our drawings or pictures later, that they do the concept of a siphon.
And so what you're saying for those who are non-scientific is that mercury was used because this is a scale model.
Yes, mercury will replicate the properties of water on a scale model, whereas water won't. Water has surface tension. If you've ever filled up a glass with water totally to the top, you get a little meniscus on the top. The glass is actually higher than the water. The water is actually higher than the glass because of surface tension. The water molecules hold it that way. So if you try to take a river that's a mile wide and scale it down to this, and you try to pour water through it to replicate what the water will do, it's not going to work. You'd have to have the best shot you could do would be to use liquid mercury.
Uh-huh.
Doing scale models of Egyptian hydraulic works.
Uh-huh.
So the first time I saw a picture of this, I immediately thought, my God, it's a scale model. It's only taken me 25 years to get here.
Brilliant observation by Dr. Arlen Andrews is that this is not the scale model of Machu Picchu. It's not the scale model of a city. It's actually an engineering teaching place where multiple examples of engineering principles, especially the movement of water, are expressed. Okay, I'm going to pour water. There is a bowl in the top, the size of a soup bowl, a little bigger. Pour the water in and see where it moves.
Here it comes.
Okay, I'm not seeing any from over here.
It's just just puddling here. You have to have a lot more water than that.
Like some more?
Yeah, pour some more. Just pour it all. Let's just see. Okay, I'll tell you, stop there and let's pour some. Here it comes. Let's let this one go for a minute. Let's pour it in the other bowl to your left. Is there another bowl over there to your left?
There's a channel right here.
Okay, let's try that one. It's coming down in two different directions.
Yeah, it's a channel. It's not a bowl.
Oh, here it comes. Collects here.
The other one's still flowing.
We discovered that water flows downhill.
Wow, it's just amazing.
So it puddles there for some reason.
All right.
And here it comes. Down into two places it splits.
Yeah. So people, of course, want evidence of Atlantis or an ancient civilization that existed and was destroyed. Well, in Peru there are countless examples of this. Structures built in prehistory, like the one behind me. And even more remarkable is this one. And what's intriguing about it is that it's broken in half. It's the size of an automobile. The Spanish didn't break it, the Inca didn't break it. Some kind of catastrophe destroyed it. And I'll show you the evidence. So what would this have been? It wasn't a throne. Just because it has flat surfaces doesn't make it a throne. You can see cleanly broken line, and because of the weathering of the stone and the lichen buildup, this must have happened several thousand years ago. These two pieces fit perfectly together. So this is the back side of it. And again, you can make out where it broke. And quite finely engineered spaces like in here. And stranger ones on the side. Now, the conventional story is going to be that this was for blood sacrifice. But that's only one version of the possibilities. The workmanship here in this channel is nothing in comparison to the workmanship that did this. So this clearly came later than that. And the ruins of a beautifully made stone wall right here. Where's the rest of it? Obviously, somebody came and recycled the stone. Maybe the Inca did. Maybe they came and took some of this back to Cusco. Or maybe they used it for the big temple here. That's unknown. But what we do know is that somebody carved this, probably with machine tools, several thousands of years ago, possibly before the end of the Ice Age. The end of the Ice Age being so devastating and so fast and so brutal with earthquakes that this is a solid example of that.